I'm just gonna, because they can join later on. Well, already it's 1:05. We have lots of work to do. Wonderful. So I'm gonna put a few of you guys, if you don't mind, I'm gonna just put you on mute, and anytime you want to speak, just unmute yourself and start talking. So what we will do, the beginning of the class, we need to do some announcements. We'll have some presentations. We need to cover at least 2 chapters today, by chapter 2, because we are in week 3 now, and we need to discuss the Padlet and a group meeting. Hopefully, we can manage all these things together. The first thing that I want to make an announcement is the fact that I did not receive the CV of yours, some of you. Please send me your CV. Anybody who didn't send his CV, send me his CV, attached a picture on it. It's important that I can recognize you by face and understand your background, so it can help me so much to evaluate and probably help in the course of teaching. As also will help that I can support if you need any support of it. So it's important that you send me CV as soon as possible with a picture attached with it. That's one thing. So I will just write down so anybody who's missing this class can see it. So first thing that we need, I need your CV with a picture attached, please. If you don't have one, just build a simple one, and then we can develop it later on to see how we can, have your CV, because your CV is important even in the future.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
We have to mail this CV to you?
Yes, you can mail it to me, and I'll leave my email address.
So one more thing, sir. I have missed your 2 classes because of I enrolled late in school.
Okay.
I have also mailed you regarding this.
Yes. If you, all I need, I'm composing all the CVs in one folder. So whichever you are in any class, anytime I need to write you an email or talk to you, I need to go back to your CV, look at the CV, understand your background and everything, and can provide you all kind of supports. So it is important, even if you send it once, that's good enough. So please email it to me at my email.
Right now, sir?
No. Today, tomorrow, this week, at least within this week, please. Okay, so this is my email address. Please send me your CV. The second thing, what I want you to do is the fact that end of the class today, I will divide you into groups, and I need all the groups meet each other and send me once exchange the emails between each other, and then you say one person will send me the names of the groups, because there would be a group meeting, a group assignment also. That's important for you to meet each other. Now, this last thing that I would like to speak about it is I created a Padlet. Anybody doesn't know about Padlet? Just tell me, or so if anybody doesn't know about Padlet, I just like to show you one thing. Anyone has question about Padlet?
Sir, we know.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So if you don't know, just go to YouTube and start understanding it. I sent you the Padlet. The Padlet is probably a place where we can share ideas and thought, and there is sometimes a repeated questions happening. So there we can also one time once we announce it, it can be there, and anytime you have unclear things, you can write it there and try to probably all of us will share these thoughts, and so we can develop our thoughts together. Now, that's wonderful. So please use the Padlet. It's part of the evaluation will be, and it's part of the um, group discussions and class discussion. It is that it has some weight on it. So leave your thought, leave your worries, leave your questions. I will be glad to answer them. So, so the others. So anybody who writes something, anybody is allowed to answer it. It's a sharing thought between all of us. So it's important that we do use the Padlet more often and visit it more often. Now, just you just need to click on this where your course, and then you write your comment there, your requests, your answers. Also, um, have a group discussion. I don't mind. So there we will share our thoughts. Now, just to we start with, we will start. Wonderful. Is there any question? Okay. So share. Uh, I will share the screen. We will start a short video, and then we will go to the lecture. That could be a ritual every class. We will do a short video. It's important that you try to understand the operation and supply chain management, how it works together. And these are important videos that it helps you to much understand better the situation. Now, for the attendees, one more announcement. Don't worry about the attendees. I usually download the attendees from the Zoom application. So as long as you are in the meeting, later on, I go on the Zoom application and download the attendees. I will keep it with me until the college asks me for it. For me, the attendees are not important, but
Sir,
participation. Let me finish this point, and then participation in the class is more important. So if you're not attending, you're not participating. So it is as clear as that. So the attendees, it will be picked automatically because you are in already, and it is telling me what time you signed in, what time you signed out, how long you've been there, how often you went out and in. All these information I can download it from Zoom, so I don't have a problem with that. Okay. Is there any question?
yes, sir, I need a question.
Sure.
Can you tell me the again CV? Didn't understand what you have
Okay.
to say.
What I want from you, if you have a CV, you just send it to me, a regular CV with the attached picture. So there I will keep it in my folder. I need to know my students, and my student needs to know me. So just in case in the future we run in a street, we should know each other. That's one thing. The second, your CV would tell me your strength, your abilities, your background. That will help me to really, because we don't have face-to-face uh, classes. One of the tools that we can know each other is through the CV. Right now, most of you probably don't want to have their pictures published on the Zoom, which is, I understand totally. But your CV will have a small picture in it because I like to associate the picture with whatever you have done in the past and what you're planning. So if you don't have a CV, just build a small one. Say I am that old. I worked. I didn't work. I did my education. This is my background, and this is my future plan. That's it. It is important.
We have to mail to you.
Yes, I sent you the email. So
Okay, sir.
everybody will be emailing you that. Now,
Okay, sir.
Now, one more thing. Anybody who joined late now, there is some repeated questions happening, which is fine. I don't mind. Please repeat anytime questions that you don't understand or you missed it. Just there is one thing, so don't worry about it. When we do a class presentation, I will every class I will upload it to YouTube. So in the next day, you will find it available, all the class on the YouTube on my channel, and I will send you the link for that. And also, I will make an announcement on the form of the college for you to about the progress of publishing these probably the classes. So if you go to my channel now, you're probably going to see the first class is being published. Now, today, when I finish this, we are already in the second class, but we are in the third week. So we are a little bit behind. So we wanted to start as soon as possible. And in the same time, we want to make sure that we grasp as much as we can. Now, I'm gonna share a very short video with you right now, and then right away we will start the class. And hopefully, end of the class, we will. I will give you time to. I'm sure you haven't been developed any a group, so I will divide you in rooms, in groups, and there you exchange everybody's names and everything, and then one of you guys will send me an email telling me this is my group, because there is a project will happen according to your group. Every group will be between 4 to 6 people. I'll see the numbers as what's happening there. Okay, so I will share a short video with you, and we'll take it from there.
Task Force Tips is a company that engineers, manufactures, and sells firefighting equipment used by firefighters all over the globe. They run a 3-shift, around-the-clock, 7-day-a-week production facility. Everything from manufacturing and tooling to accounting and receiving all happens under one roof.
Every part has a routing, and yeah, the routing steps basically are the different steps a part has to go through to be completed. Everybody has their own schedule file for their parts, and they can tell where they are in the previous step or how many parts are completed. So if there's 200 in order, they have 100 done. He knows pretty soon he's going to be getting that part and it's going to be completed.
The process all starts with an order. When Task Force Tips receives an order, the order entry person enters a finished goods number into a computer, and the computer in turn explodes the order into parts.
Every part has a reorder point and a suggested order amount. If the amount of parts that we have on hand minus the amount committed to orders is below the reorder point, then we have to order the suggested order amount. And our purchasing guy will see that via a computer screen, and he'll see what items fall below the reorder point, and then he'll place those parts on order.
The system looks at the usage for the last year and a half and then it stratifies the parts dependent on cost and usage. There are 7 different stratification levels, with parts at level A being in the highest demand. Level E is for parts that have not been ordered in a year and a half. These parts will go to a 0 reorder point with a 0 suggested order amount. F is for fixed items. These items have long lead times, and the reorder points and suggested order amounts are set manually. Level N is new. New parts have no history, so they have to be manually set until they get a year and a half of history in the system.
This first report here is what we call our manufacturing schedule report. Basically, these are all the production items, aluminum components that we manufacture here in-house, and I put those on order to our production department. So on a daily basis, we're very fortunate to get our orders. So as our sales department enters the orders, I run this report here, which tells me what items that I need to put on order. I put those on order here internally, and then once I give that to production, then I turn around and actually order all the raw material, which is typically aluminum or aluminum castings to support everything that I put on order. And subsequently, then I put on all the O-rings, fasteners, and gaskets, and all the other things that our assembly department uses to, when these parts are done, that they need to assemble. So all this stuff actually comes together in an assembly department with all our raw material, and actually was able to produce and build the nozzle.
Materials that are ordered from outside vendors come into the receiving department.
When a driver offloads his load here, whether it be UPS, FedEx, freight, everything is accompanied by a packing list. I then take the packing list and enter it into our incoming program. Once it's entered and the PO is entered, I disposition where it is going, which is generally inventory. Then I do my inspection on the part. If everything is conforming, I can then move the part on. If it's non-conforming, then I have to contact an engineer, and we go over the dimension, and he determines whether it's usable or not. After that, the packing list is stamped. Packing list goes back to the original container, and then it's moved on to inventory.
Eventually, all the parts go to the automated retrieval system, which houses Task Force TIP's entire inventory. When orders are placed, the ASRS gathers all the parts needed to fulfill that order.
The retrieval system is a way for us to keep our inventory, and all of our inventory from all the parts, even our janitorial goods, material for printers, everything is in here, so any computer in the whole company can order. They put an order in, it automatically goes onto the queue. We go and get the part, it comes down. Tina will then look at the queue to see who it's for. We either have that you'll come and pick it up, or we'll have it delivered to you. And again, once it comes to the operator, then she will be able to pull up the queue. It'll tell her exactly what the part number is. It'll tell her exactly how many pieces is needed, and it will then tell her where it needs to go. And at the same time, then it reconciles our inventory. If we have 113 pieces in there and then she takes 5, they'll reconcile it, and this is how what our purchasers use to reorder.
Task Force TIPS manufactures over 1,600 parts on 29 machines with approximately 200 employees around the clock. The production supervisor is responsible for day-to-day scheduling of machines and personnel.
So we're kind of doing 2 things to start each day, is figuring out where people need to be as well as what the machines need to be running. This is a fairly new schedule viewer that we have here. Basically, this is just a quick view of all the machines on the floor. What I'll do is I'll go in, just picking a random machine. I'll pick the first machine here, and this is a list of all the jobs that are scheduled to that machine. Everything here. This is the operation number. These are work centers. These are that we use those to help to know what to group together. Operation descriptions, the material codes, man hours, machine hours, quantity, and the priority, which is right here. Anything on this schedule that is a priority 2 through 20 means we manually prioritize that. We prioritize the work. Anything that's a 21 or greater, the system itself put the priority on it. So where we're at with this is, in this machine in particular, this is the order we're running them in: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is it. And how did I decide to schedule these? If you look on the material code, you'll see like material.
Okay. I think you understood what's this video about. It is probably best thing we can say. It's geared toward manufacturing, and it's made up to build the final manufactured product. It is the suppliers should the product should be supplied on time. Let's if you do you have any question regarding of this or something else, please write it down to me or leave a note. Okay, wonderful. Now just now like to share class lectures. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna mute everybody, but just if you have any question, just write it down to me, please. Thank you very much. Okay, operation and supply chain management. This is chapter 1. We will go very quickly on it because I'm counting on you to pick these things very easily, and you go back and download the book or read the book on McGraw-Hill. There is total information there available for you. Now, the learning objectives from this class, what we will do is really basically, I just want to, we will speak about identify the element of operation in the operation and supply chain management. Evaluate the efficiency of the firm. We will try to know the potential career opportunities. You would be very surprised to know there are so many jobs that you can take over in the supply operation and supply chain management. I myself sometimes surprise myself to look up, say, wow, this is part of the operation and supply chain management. And recognize the major concept, the definition that define the operation supply chain management field. Okay, this is, don't let this picture confuse you. I just wanted to give you a concept of how the usually these things works. So it is important that you see how these, you know, to get a parka or a jacket, all the way, there is so many things involved in building this the parka, which is the winter coat, or a regular jacket, from manufacturing to warehousing to delivery to supply to stores to the chain stores. All these things are involved into building a parka for you. Now, historically, uh, the operation and supply chain management started in 70s. They do a manufacturing strategy develop. Then they, in the 80s, they started doing just in time, which is a Japanese way of production, which is, they bring the product and the process would be from the supply right away, just in time to do that finished good. The services quality and productivities, they started in the mid 80s. And when they added the total quality management in the 90s together, just in time and total quality TQM became the Six Sigma, the lean process. Later on in the 90s, they have developed the science of supply chain management, and recently we are talking about the business analysis part of supply chain management. So also keep in mind, in the electronic e-commerce had a huge influence on supply chain management and its operation. Now, just to be a very dynamic, very understanding, when you are basically having a one-person man show, a one-person company, you open your own business, and in the morning you come and build and start working things around and start fixing things up. When it becomes 2, 3, and bigger companies, then step by step, you need to build a strategy. Let me give you a good example. If you have a small boat, in the small boat, basically is one person or two person. When you are, in the sea, and while you're riding this boat, you run to a tree or a stone or anything, you just can switch it very easily. But the bigger the ship it gets, let's say oil tanker or bigger ship, then it's not easy to do that. It is basically what will happen is the fact that there is a team working on that ship. So there, in the oil tanker, there would be you need the gas or the power that's running the ship. You need also you need the direction, the map. So moving from point A to B, there is a plan, and the plan is built based on a strategy. Now, so you have to have a business plan, which is built on the business strategy, and there is a process to do. And once you do the processes, so you want to go from point A to B, and there is some stones or an island in the front of you, you go to the right or you go to the left. Everybody in this big ship should know that, so they can maneuver things around. How many days it takes to maneuver all these things. And there where you do an analytics, and the analytics will give a feedback to the plan, to the strategy, and the strategy gets adjusted, and the process is happening. So we go through a circle of a strategy, a process, analytics. And then when you do analytics, you, according to the strategy, you do a business plan again, adjust it, you do a process, and do analytics. And this is ongoing for a mid-sized to a large-size companies. So it is not one person show usually. Now, when you do an operation and supply chain management, so it's involved in the product design. That's one thing. The purchasing, the manufacturing process, the service operation, and we will talk about there is a purely product, there is a purely service, there is a combination that's happening in the middle, how these things affecting the supply chain management and the strategy. The logistics and the distribution. So, and it's all, as I said, the success depends on putting a right strategy and implementing the right strategy through a right process and do analytics. Now, when we say process, it is the routine work every day. We all build a goal. So you wake up in the morning in the normal days, and you want to go to school, to the college. You get on, you wake up, you take shower, you put your clothes on, you take a breakfast, you get on the bus, you get off the bus, and you put your bags in a locker, you pick up your book, you sit in the class. These are all routines or a process that you do every day. And these, if it's not done perfectly, then you will not reach to the college. So you cannot wake up in the morning and not, for example, take your bag with you, because this is the main thing, because you want to go to the class. Or you have a plan to do a backup things for it. So if I miss a bus, what I'm supposed to do. So all these routine day, every day, these are really the process, if you look at it in a manufacturing size. So in the manufacturing side, the processes are, these are very important to be defined. And once it's defined and start processing, you start doing analytics, and you try to find the gap between your setup plan, which is a strategy, and what your process, and then how you narrow that down to meet each other. Now, please write or interrupt me if you have a question. So the design, operation, and improvement of a system that create the delivery, the firm product services. So as I said, you're always going to do, when you do working in operation or in supply chain management, there's always improvement and adjustment to it. And it is the supply chain management, the operation is the management of the entire production and delivery system. So operation and supply chain management is concerned with the management of the entire production and delivery system. Keep that in mind, because it's a very important. That's how you need to look at that part of it. Now, there is, when you have an operation, when you have a company, when you have a factory, there is a four main pillars in this field of the business. The first field is the operation and supply management, marketing, finance, and sales. And they have to be working together to meet the business strategy. So in the business strategy, you build all these subcomponents. They work together toward the success, to meet the business strategy itself, the plan. Now, there is two parts in any organization. Well, when we talk about supply chain, there is an internal supply chain and there is an external supply chain. But in the same time, as we said, it's a process that move the supply chain process of move the information and material from the beginning to the end with the end product. So there is a logistics process, move the product. There should be a warehousing where we keep the product. We should have an information system, information that's shared, and the payment. On the operations side, like manufacturing and service process used to transfer the resource into final product for the customers. We're not gonna, we'll talk about this slide later on, but every plant in general, there is a source, there is a place that they make it, and there is the delivery. Now there is a return where there's a defective product, and defective product could be coming from the suppliers, and there should be a plan to return these defective product, or when we final deliver to the end user or to the customer. Our customer does not have to be the end user. There is a plan for a return for the products. So planning is process needed to operate an existing supply chain. So you have to do a planning for it. And then you start doing sourcing. And in the end of this chapter, we will talk about how we mitigate the sourcing, risk of the sourcing. So the sourcing is the selection of supplier that will deliver the goods and service needed to create the firm's product. Now, making is producing the major product or services, and delivery is, the logistic process such as selecting the carrier. It could be a plane, car, or other means. Now, most of us would think of delivery. It could be, a vehicle or a plane or a train. And also the collecting payment, it will be part of it. And as I said, it is part of the plan. You should have the processes, there is a return. Now, when we talk about delivering, we had a case in Manitoba, and it's about delivering electricity to USA and consuming. Now, every company, every industry, it's a different. Electricity works on turbines, and turbines means the growth doesn't go like this. It goes like this, and you open the second turbine, goes up like this, and then it starts going like this, and then when you open the third turbine, it goes up like this. So it's not going smooth in electricity. And there is always waste of electricity if you don't have a consumer for them. So Manitoba, in 20 years ago, I was working on that plan also. Feasibility studies and economic studies of that. It's called the Kanawapa electricity, and the plan is the fact that between USA and Canada, during the daytime, Canada supplies USA with the electricity. And at nighttime, USA will be supplying Canada with electricity, just to saving on the operation of turbines, because it's consumed lots of energy to convert the energy to electricity. Now, they were spending over $2 billion, and imagine that's more than 20 years ago, to build Kanawapa. And the whole idea is it's a very high cost in that time for Manitoba, and hoping that USA will buy during the daytime electricities from Canada, from Manitoba. Unfortunately, when I looked at the contract, I've noticed that there is not many, there's no guarantees and warranties from buying this electricity. USA buys it during the daytime. And if they don't buy it, the plant Kanuava will go bankrupt. So my comment saying, well, you need to be more careful of how to build this contract. They didn't like it, but unfortunately later on that USA canceled on Canada during to purchase electricity from Manitoba. That was a big, took the premium, um, the government down. Looking at delivery doesn't have to be the logistic, such as courier or coordinator, could be in these days with the technology through the internet. So your deliveries could be a high-speed internet, like now. So delivery of my service, I need a high-speed internet. You need a high-speed internet. So we sometimes it gets more complicated than looking at the deliveries and collecting the payment from the customers. So the whole goal is, I'm not sure if this is showing, but I will keep moving the slides up and down this part. It's just we're just gonna show you that part for you. So this is an important slide to understand. See, when you do a planning, there always you have to define sourcing. And whatever you're sourcing, you need to make sure there is a plan and there is a backup plan and all these things. Now, it depends, as I said, industry by industry. That makes a big differences. For example, there is a whole EMC, a company called EMC. Now you find it on the Highway 401. It's a number 11 worldwide in IT. They work mostly with the disaster recovery for softwares. So when you talk about sourcing, you always need to make sure your sourcing are available. And from the sourcing, we'll be going to the making the product. So the planning is affecting the sourcing and affecting the making the product, and also delivering and returning. And this cycle always happening with a feedback from each other. So the hub is the planning, and the planning is where you make these things. So let me give you a good example with the today technology. I would like to, talk about product, service, but also sometimes I bring some technology in the middle. For example, all the banks, by law, every day they have to do a backup on it tapes. Now, not these tapes that we know, it's like certain tapes, backup of their data. And these tapes will put in a special bag and gets delivered to another country or another city, heaven city, where just in case if the place breaks in, the banks breaks in. I don't understand your question. Okay, fair enough. If you have, we can discuss about the grouping later on, please. So what will happen is usually, for example, the banks after it does the backup, he puts it on a plane and takes it to another country just in case for any disaster recovery, they can call it back, this thing. So the reason is because they want to have a safe sourcing. And they cannot do a safe sourcing if they don't have a backup for it. So in the technology, EMC came in and did a disaster recovery, synchronized and a synchronized disaster recovery. So they said, okay, inside the bank, we will have a backup system, but also outside the bank, we will have another backup system, and that's probably weekly, and this daily. So you don't need to use tape anymore. You just have do a backup every day automatically. End of the day, it's happening. And this is one of the things that most of the organization in the old days we're only bank, but after 9/11, they realized all the organization, mid to large, including universities and colleges, they needed such an application because you might have somebody who is graduated 2 years ago and he needs transformer or his degree or the marks. So it's easy to allocate it. But if the system was just a paper and gets burned out, fire or anything like this, or flowing of water, it's a very difficult to. So even the colleges, the universities start thinking about multi-sourcing, minimizing the risk. Okay. Now, as I said, it depends on what you are supplying. So if you are supplying goods to the customer, and when I say customer, it could be, you could be in the middle of the production. So you are probably, you have a downstream and upstream customers. So you might have somebody coming in from, you take products from your supplier, do some process, most process on it, and sell it to somebody else who is going to use it. There's lots of farmers, they do that. So they take baby pigs and let them grow 2 months, and then they sell it to another farm. So they are the middle. And that another farm, it could be a factory, manufacturing, which is will keep it another 2-3 years before they slaughter that. So they are in the middleman in a way. Now, so back to the subject is the fact that there is goods and there is a service, and there is something in the middle. So what do we mean in the middle? When we talk about goods, we talk about, usually they have certain characteristics, and usually the market is very competitive in it. So companies trying to have a more edge on it, they will put some kind of a service in it. So the core would be, the supplier would not be a pure good, it would be core goods. The pure goods, like we were talking about, pure oil, they supplying a pure oil. But sometimes you supply a good with some kind of service involved in it, such as, when you're buying a laptop, and then there is some service in it. But the other part, and that makes the product very competitive. The more is to the pure goods, more competitive. But it becomes tangible, you can feel it, and you have a less interaction. The more toward that side, you will have a less interaction with the customers, because that's what you're offering, and people will come and buy it. And it's usually homogeneous and it's very competitive. Now, on other hand, you have a product that it's extreme service. So consultancy, teaching, IT is something with got a pure services. And when it's a pure services, it basically is intangible. It's not, it goes away if it's nobody consume it. It is like for example, if you're not as a student there in a class, I'm going to be delivering courses to nobody, and that would be gone away. If nobody shows up, if one student missed that class, he lost it. Or if I'm not showing, it is intangible. It's not always there. Now, sometimes this pure services has add-on a core service to it and became adding a product in it and became a core service. IBM, usually, we think of IBM, we think of it as a company with, how shall I say, with a product provider. But actually, the biggest revenue of IBM is, they call themselves IBM Service. So they sell a product, but the whole goal is the service behind the product that they are delivering. That's where they make their most of the money. But that gave them an edge from other companies in the beginning of the 10 years ago. Sun did not provide such thing. It just gave a boxes of servers. Meanwhile, IBM said, okay, I'll give you the mainframe, but I also will give you the software. I will implement a software for you. So their goal is a different strategy. Now, you got a pure service on this side, and when you add a good in it, it becomes the core is service, but there is some product behind it. On other side, you got the pure goods, just somebody like supplying a whole tank, big tank shipment of oil, or big tank shipment of shampoo, which is that's happening from delivered from Malaysia and Indonesia mostly to North America, and that's a pure product. And then when it comes here, they manufacturing it, bottling it, and putting 1-800 number on it just to answer your questions. They add some services, so it becomes a core. The core is a product, but there is a behind it a service, so that gives it an edge. Okay, so these are probably the difference between good and services. So as we explained earlier, a company might do a combination of good and services, a bundle, where they can provide you a good, and there is some warranties and training in it, just like Microsoft, for example, they provide the solution, and there is guarantees of warranties in it, and also attached to it. Training. Bundling refers to the practice of building a service activity into a product to create an additional value for the customers. See, we pay dollars, but when we buy something, but actually what we're getting a value. So the dollars is traded with the values that we are getting. So we go in the market, we don't really buy just a product, we buy the value behind the product, what we are getting from it. So a bundle of a service comes with a product that will gives it more value for the product. Now a bundle of a product with the whole service, that gives us more guarantees in the services. Now, here is terms that you need, and we will probably take a break after that. It's efficiency, effectiveness, and value. Efficiency is doing something at the lowest possible cost. And when you talk about cost, it doesn't have to be a dollar value attached to it. It could be time. It could be effort. It could be timing or money. Effectiveness is doing the right thing to create the most value for your customers. So they're doing the right thing to go to the right target. So when you become an effective, when you are doing something right in the first time, where the customers start looking at the things in a very satisfaction way, which is you're creating a value for it. But the value is overall, as I said, most of us, when we go in a market, we buy dollars, we pay dollars, but actually it's the value behind the product that we are getting. It's that's what worth our dollars. So the attractiveness of the product relative to the cost. So if I'm paying $5, I will always try to see what kind of what's the attractive, what's the value in it for me. If I'm paying $10, what's the value in it? So let's assume that you're buying something for $5, but when it goes to $10, you stop buying it because it doesn't have the value of exchanging of your $10 with that probably the amount. Okay, now what I will do, I probably will take, do you have any question?
No, sir.
Wonderful. So only this slide, and then we will take a break after that. So the comparison, this is where we're gonna come back after this break. We will do some benchmarking comparison. We'll bring some examples of how companies are keen and they have to do some benchmarking because it will be contributing to betterment of the company for all of them. So after the break, we will be talking about the benchmarking and the process of the benchmarking. Hopefully, we can finish this chapter very quickly. Now, you probably, I'll give you, we'll come back at 15 after 2. We'll come back 15 after 2. And there we will be talking about the rest of this chapter. We talk about the benchmarking, and we're probably going to divide you guys on the group meeting to finalize things. So we will be back at 2:15, please. Please feel free to write to me while on a break. I will be glad to answer if you have any questions.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Test. Okay, we're back. Sorry, I'm 3 minutes late. Now, I had a friend of mine, and he's probably most of you know he's a Tamil. He's an architecture, but he used to live in Chennai, and basically he was my service supplier for IT. So anytime I had a project, the project was, I call on him. He has a team, and he was a very reliable person. He built an application. I don't know if I told you about it or not. It's called Benchmark or Benching, bought by one of the Belgium companies, and it's basically what it does. When you do a scanning, you go shopping and scanning, it reads your purchasing habits and try to associate your purchasing habits with the products that they have or with what the suppliers can give. For example, as I think mentioned in one class, that the fact that they found out through his application that most of the Belgian people on a weekend, they come, and the man usually comes and buy a case of beer, and basically when he buys a case of beer, he feels guilty and buys diapers for his kids. So they decided to put decided to put diapers beside the beer fridge. So when a young man comes in the shopping, he comes straight to buy his case of beer. Then he looks on the right side and he sees children diapers. So he picks a box of diapers. Now they found out this association, which is a weird, like you buy beer and diapers most of the time. They also found out, for example, he told me that eventually he sold this application for over $180 million to a company in Belgium. They found out that a man will try to spend very little dollars on buying a jeans pants, but wouldn't mind in that time buys a very expensive watch. So they put, where the cheap jeans, $10 jeans or $20 jeans, set up beside the expensive watch show. And it's a funny thing. They come and they see only $10 to spend for the jeans.
Okay, I found this on the web.
They found $10 on the jeans, but in the same times, he looks at the watch and he pays $1,500 for the watch. So the whole idea is here, whereas the man sees no more than $10 spending on a jeans, is the value that he's getting from that jeans. But spending $1,500 on a watch, that's a value he's getting worth of that $1,500. So it is, as I said in the earlier class, that the value that we perceive from purchasing something, that's cause very an issue, make us make a decision. Now, I see everybody back, and we'll try to answer your question. I'm reading your questions, and I will answer them. Yes, you cannot, as a matter of fact, no, you cannot make your own group as today. What you can do, I will divide you on a different group, and then if you want to switch later on, you have to find a replacement for you. But keep in mind, there was some questions about some group. Now, as I said, um, if we have a group made of 5, I'm pretty sure some of you guys better in something than the other. Some of you guys are better in research. Some of you guys are better in writing. Some of you in presenting. So look at your strength. But I'm also know about the fact that sometimes within one group you will find the lazy one, the backrider one, and to avoid that, the backrider, the lazy one, uh, end of this semester, and it's very important that you pay attention to that, to this. End of the semester, I will get reports from rest of the group. Like if says there's a 5 people in one group, and 4 of these members of this group saying Mr. X, student X, did not participate with us. He would not get the same mark that the rest of the group. So it's important that all of you within one group participate effectively, because never think that somebody, one of you, one member of that group will do nothing, and then he will end up getting 30% worth of marks. No, a report from your colleagues within the group, each one will send me an email end of the semester telling me how is the rest of the group worked with him and how they were active and proactive. So this way I can evaluate, say, if you get 30% and 4 of these group out of 5 members saying that you didn't chip in the project, then you would not get a good mark. I can assure you that. So don't worry about your group. All of them have to be active. Otherwise, there might be penalties in on their final mark. So that's definitely is part of the process. Okay. Now let's go back. You don't need to know each other when you start working in a different company, and you're not going to know anybody. As a matter of fact, if you know anybody, you might not get it the job most of the time. So it is good that you can work with the people that you don't know. But if you don't want to, you want to join a group that you know them very well, all you have to do is find that group and speak with them and have one member willing to switch with you. So he's going to go on a group A and you move from group A, go to the group B. It is important that this week, end of this week, I will get the list. One person will write to me and says, this is my group, and he should CC them and says, and that's where you stick with them rest of the semester. Now, I know not all of them perfect, so it's also leader and every member of the team help each other. Work is a teamwork. When you do well in a teamwork, you will do very well in life. Sometimes some of you guys will be lazy or they have a problem. You can carry each other, but it is, trust me, it's a wonderful feeling end of the semester when you become closer to your team and you present all of you as a one person, as one team. And this is the goal, is the fact that group work is kind of very important. Now, I will finish this chapter very quickly, and then I will go back to this subject again, and we'll divide you, and please, we'll discuss this matter again. That shouldn't be any problem. Okay. Now, what in the last I think we have reached to this point on the benchmarking. Now, as I said, when you do working in a company, you always try to do a benchmarking. It's important, the companies that operate and do a benchmarking. Um, it will probably help the company or the firm or whom to see how evaluate their business plan and their strategy and compare to the rest of them. Now, from an operation and supply chain perspective, the relative cost of providing good and service is closely related to earning growth. So most of the people who is involved in the operation and involved in supply chain management, they will look at the cost. Most of the people in sales will look at the sales. Financials will look at the profit. So each one of them has a different look at a certain from different perspective corner in the operation. Now, here is where we're evaluating efficiencies. Now, sometimes you have evaluate something called a major efficiencies, and you do output to input. But sometimes you go with a certain things to find out that part of operation, how it's doing compared to the rest. But when you do an evaluating for efficiencies, is that the fact you're evaluating it, it has to be there is a benchmark you're evaluating on it. Now, for example, the management efficiency ratios, and usually you do a net income per employee or a revenue or sales per employee. And what they do is see, okay, every employee, how much is generating income. And doesn't mean have to direct income. It could be indirect income where they are supporting staff, providing support to the production staff. They are part of the whole thing. So the management usually looks sometimes at the total income divided by number of the employees. So or the sales itself. Sometimes the assets productivity. So there is a labor productivities and there is a asset productivities. And asset productivity mostly it look in the they use widely used in less labor jobs, usually in real estate and all these things. They look at the assets productivity. So the way they look at it is that receivable issues like inventory turnover, asset turnover, and receivables. And end of this chapter, in the book, you will see all formulas of how to do the calculation for them. But as an example, here is where the receivable turnover. So how much annual credit sales, how much sales has happened in credit, and how much is account receivable. Sometimes you notice that some companies, they're very rich on a books, but they go bankruptcy because they're not collecting the money on time. They're not collecting the revenue on time. So they have so big in a receivable and so little in collecting monies. Or the inventory turnover, they will see the cost of the goods sold on the average inventory values. So how much they are keeping a value worth of inventories. So if you're selling $10 daily, you should not be having $10,000 worth of inventories there, because it doesn't make sense. Because if you have a $10,000 worth of inventories, you can put it in the bank, the money, and you start making interest rate much better than $10 worth of sales. So asset productivities, there is ratios you can use. Labor productivities, there are certain ratios you can use. And they always, it is part of the cost accounting, managerial accounting, and it is management use these efficiency ratios to look at the operation overall, or looking at the operation comparing to other operations, competitive, or then look at part of the operation. They might look at the labors versus, cost. And that's important for the investors to look at them, to evaluate the company, especially if it's a large size, then they need to see how much they invest, whether they buy shares in it or not. Okay? Now, the last section that we want to talk about it is career in the operation and supply chain management. It's a huge, it's for you guys, the sky is the limit to get a job in the operation and in the supply chain management. A plant manager is a person who looks after the whole operation, or a warehouse manager, a hospital administrator, or a hotel administrator. This is part of the operation. A branch manager, part of operation, and does work in supply. Development store manager, department store manager, sorry. Probably I would say if you go to Walmart, everybody is working in the operation or supply chain. Call center manager, because you need to do answering phones and requirement and answering questions, and having a team up answering these things. Supply chain manager, very clear, and the supply chain manager can be from different stages. You can work in a different stages with the supplier, the source, the or in the middle, or in the end with the customer. Quality control, lean improvement, which is lean improvement, which is you look at how smoothly these different stages of production works together with the supplier and the customer. The business process improvement, that's when we say analysis. The project management, that's what I've done so much work in the project management field, especially in the field of IT. I did lots of work there, and it is part of the operation and supply chain management. Production control analysis, and production facility management, and chief operating officer. The last 4 or 5 years, I worked as a CEO, which is chief operating officer. And these are jobs that belong to an operation and supply chain management. So it's huge. We don't see that. We think, most of people are involved in the marketing or sales or finance or, management. But that's only 20% of the job available. The rest of 80%, especially in industry countries, in advanced countries, 80% of this work is in the operation and supply management. Now, within that, if the country more advanced, they are into service, which is also part of the operation and supply chain management. And this is how they really compare advanced countries from non-advanced countries, which is, I don't think this could be some kind of bias in it. The advanced countries, especially, for example, if they consider developed country like Canada, their revenue comes in from service. And probably now 70% of their revenue comes from service. The less developed countries, their more revenue comes from product. So as the country gets developed, it's moving from product oriented, purely product, to a service. And there where they start offering from pure product, product with a service, then service with a product, and a pure service. So the development happening that way. So you are in a position, you might be, if you're working within Canada, in Canada, you could be most likely your first job somewhere with the operation, part of the plant manager or part of the hospital administration or hotel administration, or you might be working as a call center or call center manager. So 80% of the jobs available in market, it's belong to operation and supply chain management. Now, the issues that we will be talking about mostly as we go on is we will be talking about coordinating relationship with between organization. This is a big challenge, and lots of people, lots of individual and companies are making so much money out of that. Managing the companies that produce components and supply. And that doesn't have to be a product, once again. I want you to get out of the thinking of a product. So when I spoke with I mean, if in India especially, the IT department, the IT parks, you will see huge streets, big buildings in Chennai and Bombay, and within one day, you will get so many offices built in if you have a project. So there is a big middleman is making business of collecting, technical people, putting them in office, putting them together to deliver a project. And it was funny when you can have a walk-in interview. They're putting a big sign saying, if you have an IT background, you can do a walk-in interview. You don't need to submit a CV and wait. You just walk in and have an interview. On the spot, you get a job and start working in, call center, for example, or working in development of software. These are, I think you're fully aware of these places in India, especially in Bombay and in Chennai, the IT part of these organizations. So coordination relationship between organization, managing the company that product component and supply of major factory, optimizing a global suppliers and distribution. So the global leveraging, seeing where is the cheapest product, how we can get to this, how we want to make sure this is the product that fits us and fit very well. Now you go to the supermarket today and you go to any places, stores, you will look at the products, you think it's a Canadian, but it's not. Most of them, even the Canadian ones, they said bottle in Canada or produce in Canada. Lots of products is coming from China now, different type of product. So the networking, the global suppliers becomes a very important part of the business. Managing the customer touch point, recognizing the resources, the customers, the cost of the staffing, the cost of associating with the loss of customer. So if I'm putting 2 staff, how much I'm generating business. And if I'm taking out 1 staff, so I'm saving some costs, but how much I'm losing a business, or I'm losing opportunities. Lost opportunity, I see it, and most of business people see it, is a losing, is a lost. Lots of people says, okay, so what if somebody walks in, didn't find any support and walks out? No, you lost this business. You lost it mostly for a competition. So this part is cost of the staffing versus cost of associate with the customers. Loss of the customer is very important, and this is one of part that it's focused in operation and supply chain management. Raising awareness of competitive advantage. You always need to know, are you competitive? Is you comparing to the rest of, and we will talk about it next class, about are you competitive enough to compete in the market? Now, when we talk about competition, sometimes we think, okay, so the cheapest is the best. No, not necessary. You might be cheapest as everybody else, but there is something that makes you a winner of an order. And this is where you need to look at order winner, customer winner, as a supply chain management, as an operation part. And we will talk this in the next class on a detailed base. Now, here, I think now what we're going to do, we have something like 15 minutes. So please, I will try to break you into group. I know most of you guys don't know each other. And the group will not be perfect. But within time, I believe we have enough time that you're going to be a perfect group. So the only things that will fail you, it's you. The fact that, keep in mind, if the group made of 5 people and one of them is lazy, end of the semester, if I get 5 people, 4 of them saying Mr. X did not support us in providing this project, he would not get a good mark in the final project. So you want to make sure all of you work together. Now, it doesn't have to be in the same field. So you can divide later on the work and says, I will be the presenter, you will be the researcher, you two gonna be writers, something like that, because not all of you guys have the same, strength in the same level. So please start communicating, because most of supply chain management, it's communicating. If you're not communicating, you are not doing a business in the supply chain management. You're probably going to fail. The first thing, if you're not communicating efficiently and effectively, you're doomed to fail in the supply chain management business. A salesperson, he sometimes doesn't need to communicate a lot, because he can go and deliver sales according to the thing and ask the rest to supply it. But operation and supply, their main goal is communicating and allocating to be more efficient. Now, I will break you in a group. Please exchange emails very quickly. Start talking to each other. I will visit you guys and start, joining you. Also, try to use the Padlet for any questions or any comment that you want to do. The more you can use that, the more I'm happier with you guys as a team. Now, let me break you in the classes. Okay. Would be the 6 rooms, and once I create the rooms, please accept to be part of that room. So I'm creating it now, and please accept it to join. There's some of you guys going to be 4, some of you going to be 5. The 4, eventually I will add 1 person, because I think 2-3 people from this class is missing, so I will add them. So I'm creating that, and I will open all the rooms, and please accept that. And please exchange the emails. I see some of you guys is not joining. Join, because if you're not joining this group, I would not later on go through hassle trying to find you a spot. Because right now you have an option to be a member of a group, guarantee one group, and then later on, if you want to switch, if you're from a group 1 and wants to switch to a group 2, you just need to talk to one person in a group 2 and find whomever willing to switch between both of you. So please just join. And I see people are not joining right now. And please click join. And because we are not in a live class one-to-one, it's very difficult to really accommodate everything on the spot. Within the time, we will be accommodating things. Group 1 is so far is doing well. There is 4 of you guys. One more is not joining, but I'm sorry. If he's not joining, I'm putting him back. In the same room. It is today, it's just to know each other. It's not a day to decide. Look at it as an engagement. So you're getting engaged with each other. When a man and a wife, they get engaged, they take some time to understand each other. And if they don't like each other, they break. So this week, you get to know each other. If you don't like each other, you just try to switch with other person in different group. And that's possible. I will accept it. But today, it's just, please make sure that you are part of that group. And end of this week, I want to be to have the finalize this group. So please make sure that you are joining. So here's one person that is not assigning himself. So I will be assigning him to a group that has 4 people. Hi guys.
Hi, sir.
How are you?
You?
Good. Everything is fine?
Yes.
Wonderful. So I will leave you guys. Seems to me room 1 and 2 are very fine. Good job, guys. Now, the issues is, let me see. No, things is fine. There is only room 3 has some pending. And I will add these people in the same room. There is no other option because all the rooms are 5 people. So I'm not going to want to put 6 people. Now later on, you can talk to each other when you are switching. Hi. Hello. You can't hear me, huh? Okay, that's fine. Okay, guys. I understand it is online course, and unfortunately, because of this COVID-19, we have to do it this way. But trust me, with the time as pass by, you will be more comfortable with this way. And by the way, even if we go back to a normal life, it's not going to be normal anymore. Um, there is a good part of this happening in with this COVID-19 is the fact that most of us rent a small room in the downtown and pay $2,000 for that small room to because we want to be near to work. With this, things is changing. Now you can live in a very beautiful big house out of the city and work online. They needed, this is the positive side of this COVID-19, is that open the eyes for you guys, is the fact that you need to start thinking more work online, more collaborative tools, more talking, working in the morning in from your house. And now that $2,000 or $1,000 that you pay to be a roommate in the middle of Toronto or Scarborough, you don't need that anymore. You can move in a very beautiful big house outside Toronto and pay the same amount and enjoy the fresh air, the safety, the good life. Meanwhile, you're working. So look at this scenario that we are having today, and we are doing it today. You are gaining a new way of working, and this is the future trend. Let me know your reaction. I want to tell you one short story, and then we will break. Way before, in 10, 15 years ago, something like that, I was working in Kuwait. I felt a little bit wanted to take a short break. So I grabbed my stuff, went to Thailand. From Thailand, I went to there's a small island in the middle of nowhere. And I started working from there. My feet were in the beach, in the water. And I was dealing with Kuwait, UAE, Abu Dhabi, and France same time. My manager calls me and says, I want to meet with you. I told him, I'm sorry, I'm not in Kuwait. So he said, where are you? I told him, I'm there, but I'm working from there. So he asked me a few questions. He said, well, enjoy the time there. So what I'm trying here, you have the freedom now. It's a tough now, but later on, you'll be working from your home, from your any country that you want in Canada or anywhere else. So that's the wonderful thing. You need to learn about it. It's difficult now, but later on, it will be easier and easier. So I look forward for your CVs. I look forward for your end of this week to tell me about your team. Is there any question? Okay. You have a wonderful time and enjoy rest of the week. Yes, send me email if you have a question. Chat with me on this, or leave your thoughts on the Padlet. All open for you. Choose the best tool that you like to use. I don't have issues with this. You have a good day, and I will be here. And yes, please feel free. Send me questions. Any question in your mind. And don't mind. If you want to ask now, I'm here. Anybody who wants to leave, feel free to leave, please. Anybody who wants to have a question, I'm here. Talk to me.
Group presentation topics.
Oh, the presentation topic shows up later on. If you look at the, thank you for this question. If you look at the learning plan, you will see the group topic would be evaluating the best fit solution for the supply. Because I'm expecting you by end of this session, you will be beginning of to be SME, subject matter expert, by going through this. So what I'm trying to do here is that you're evaluating different suppliers of softwares and you're fitting it to your product. I would take you through that step, stage by stage. I hope that we can also have some supporting tools for you to do that. So that's the part of it. Any other question?
No, sir. Thank you.
I appreciate your question. Okay, so please write to me to switch the group. Once the group is already set, you speak with the other group that you want to join and tell the other group that you want to switch with them. And if they're okay with that, then you switch with them. Because now every group should have 5 at least people. Because this is, I know the person in the third room was alone, but the people who did not join, they will have less option to select their group. Because now what's remaining outside, I have to appoint them to stay in one group. And keep in mind, the thing is, you cannot in life choose the way who you want to work with. And sometimes you know that you need to work with people that you don't like, but or you have problem with issues as emotionally or feeling. But that's true. This is the reality of life. So try within the time, things will be developed. I always says, a short comment. I always says that the fact I'm going to stop recording and